Most of the pontoons listed under $5,000 right now are traps, one tired part away from costing you more than you paid. But a handful are the best value on the water, and a single question tells them apart. Get it wrong and your bargain sinks your summer. Get it right and you steal a boat. That gap between the trap and the steal is exactly the one the new boat salesman counts on you never seeing. He doesn't want you shopping the under $5,000 market at all. He wants you inside, under the showroom lights, on a brand new $50,000 Pontoon with a payment already worked out before you've even asked. More seating, more horsepower, nothing down till spring. And what he never says out loud is that his shiny new one sheds a third of its value before the second summer, and half of it before you've paid the loan down far enough to matter. The exact beating the used boat already took on somebody else's watch. The whole trade runs on you never learning to tell a cheap gem from a cheap mistake. So today we learn it. 5 pontoons you can buy dirt cheap right now and be glad you did. Worst to best, the best saved for last. And the single question that tells a genuine steal from a floating money pit, so you never hand $4,000 to the wrong boat. Get it right, and a cheap pontoon is the smartest buy on the lake. Get it wrong, and it's an anchor with cup holders. A cheap pontoon is a different animal than a cheap fiberglass boat, and it comes down to that aluminum log under the deck. It doesn't rot, it doesn't blister, it doesn't crack in the sun the way gel coat does. Barring a hard hit or a bad weld, the most expensive part of the boat is the part that never wears out. Now look at what does. The carpet and the vinyl seats bake in the sun and go hard, cosmetic and cheap. The plywood deck under that carpet can go soft, and I'll show you in a minute why that's a weekend. Not a disaster. And the outboard gets tired like any motor does. So on a dirt cheap pontoon, you're really buying 2 things: sound tubes and a motor you can live with. Everything else is a Saturday and a trip to the parts store. That's why these old barges are the best cheap boat on the water. The money pit, if there even is one, lives where you can actually see it. And that's the single question I promised you. Is the motor sound? On a dirt cheap pontoon, the whole deal turns on that outboard. It's the only thing aboard that can cost more to fix than the boat is worth. A clean 4-stroke with reasonable hours has 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 hours still left in it, decades of lake weekends. But a tired 2-stroke that won't idle, or a blown power head, means a repower, and a new one hung and rigged runs you $12,000 to $15,000. On a $4,000 boat, that's the whole game lost in one line. So you buy the one with the sound motor and let the faded carpet scare everybody else off. The supply's on your side too. Pontoons shed 1/4 to 1/3 of their value in the first couple of years, then flatten out, and there are more good used ones out there than buyers for them. Never forget, you can always walk to the next one. If that's the straight talk you came for, the boat nobody on the sales floor will hand you. Do me one favor, tap the like button and subscribe, because I put one of these out every week, and the next fella scrolling past deserves to hear it before he signs a payment book. We start at number 5, the Sun Tracker. This is the green and tan barge you've seen tied to half the docks on every lake in America. The one they move out of Bass Pro and Cabela's by the trainload. An older party barge or bass buggy from the 2000s runs you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 with a running motor, and there are hundreds of them out there at any given moment. Now, the fella at the yacht club will sniff at it. Plain vinyl, a basic layout, a modest little outboard, and some of the older small ones came only 8 foot wide when you'd rather have 8.5. Here's the thing he's missing though, and I'll defend this boat to his face. It is the single easiest cheap pontoon in the country to keep running. Parts and service sit behind the biggest outdoor retailer in America. The supply's so deep you never overpay, and there's nothing on it too fancy to fix in your driveway. You'll meet owners who've kept the same one 20 years, a fresh motor once, new seats once, and called it square. It won't turn ahead. It'll just start every weekend for about the price of a used riding mower. Number 4, the Lowe and its cousin the Sun Cruiser. Same budget corner as the Sun Tracker, built by the same Tracker family, but you get a little more fishing boat for the money. Real rod storage, live wells, a layout drawn up by people who actually fish. What earns it the higher spot is the metal. Lowe builds these out of 5052 marine-grade aluminum, the corrosion-resistant alloy. And on a boat meant to sit in the water all season, that's a genuine advantage, not just a brochure word. You'll find a 10 to 15-year-old one in the $8,000 to $12,000 range. And for a man who'd rather fish than impress the neighbors, that's a lot of honest boat for little money. Just do the one check that matters before you hand over a dime. Put your weight on that deck corner to corner and feel for the soft spot. And let me stop right here and defend the boat everybody else walks away from, the one with the spongy floor. A soft deck on a fiberglass cruiser is a 5-figure heartbreak because the rot is core buried down inside the hull where you can't reach it. A soft deck on a pontoon is nothing of the kind. That floor is just marine plywood screwed down to an aluminum frame. Peel the old carpet, back the screws out, drop in fresh sheets and new vinyl, and you're looking at a few $100s in material and a weekend with a couple of buddies. So when the seller apologizes for the soft floor and takes $2,000 off his price, and the fix runs you $600 in a Saturday, you didn't find a problem. You found your discount. Everybody else's fear is your leverage. That deck check matters even more at number 3, the Starcraft. Starcraft's been bending aluminum since before most of us were born, and their pontoons earned a plain, unglamorous reputation. Dependable, simply built, easy to service through a dealer network that's still around to answer the phone. You'll see an 0522 Sport with a 90-horse Suzuki 4-stroke, tandem trailer thrown in, changing hands in the low teens, and that Suzuki is exactly the motor you want. A simple 4-stroke with a lot of life left in it. Starcraft doesn't build you a floating living room. It builds you a boat that starts, runs, and doesn't nickel and dime you. And on the used market, that plainness is worth its weight because plain boats are cheap to buy and cheaper still to keep. The flash costs you money twice, once on the sticker and again every time it breaks. Now, everything I just walked you through on that Starcraft, telling the sound cheap boat from the money pit, reading the motor, feeling out the deck, knowing what to knock off the price, that's the exact ground my playbook covers front to back. It's called How to Buy, Own, and Sell a Used Boat Without Sinking Your Savings, and it lays it all out plain. The 1-hour walkthrough you do with your own 2 hands before you spend a dime. The engine cheat sheet so you can tell a good motor from a boat, anchor at a glance, and the questions that get a seller telling you the truth whether he means to or not. On a boat this cheap, that book is the cheapest thing you'll buy in the whole process, and the one thing that keeps everything after it from hurting. Links in the description, and there's a QR code on screen if you'd rather scan it. And if you'd sooner work it all out on your own, no harm done, every word of it still applies. Number 2, the Sweetwater, built by Godfrey. And this is where a dirt cheap pontoon starts to feel like a real one. Godfrey's a serious builder, and Sweetwater was their value line, which means you get a better finished boat, a roomier layout, and often a proper tri-tune for not much more than the budget barges below it. Track down an 06 Tuscany with a 90-horse Honda on the back, or an 04 riding a Yamaha F90, and you'll find them in the $10,000 to $15,000 range for a clean one, sometimes less if the vinyl's gone tired. And tired vinyl, you'll remember, is the good kind of problem. Reupholstery runs a couple thousand at a shop, or a few hundred if you're handy with a staple gun in a winter to kill. That's not a worn-out boat you're looking at. That's a sound boat wearing a cheap coat you can replace. The tubes underneath don't know how old the seat covers are. And that brings us to number 1, the one I'd point my own brother at, an older Harris. Today, Harris is a premium name, right up there with Bennington, and a new one empties your account in a hurry. But go back 10-15 years to the older float boat hulls, and that same respected builder turns up on the used market at budget brand money, $14,000 and down for the older ones, sometimes well down. What you're buying at that price is heavier gauge aluminum than the cheap boats use, a stouter build, and a premium hull that already took its depreciation beating on somebody else's watch. The only place it'll cost you more than the budget brands is the day you redo the interior because there's simply more boat to recover. But the bones, the logs, the frame, the structure that actually decides whether this boat is still floating in 20 years, those are the best in the whole lineup. 20 years from now, that Harris log is still holding air while 3 newer boats have gone off to the scrapper. Call it what it plainly is, a good boat that got cheap just by waiting. Me with my own money? 2 picks. If I only wanted on the water tomorrow for the least cash a man can spend, I'd take the Sun Tracker every time. Find a clean one with a 4-stroke that fires on the first turn, hand over $4,000 or $5,000, and never look back. But if I had a little patience and wanted the boat that'll still be worth real money the day I'm done with it, I'd hunt down that older Harris. Budget a weekend for the deck and a couple thousand for the seats, and own the best hull on the lake for the price of the worst. Because that's the quiet truth the salesman never wants you to work out. Every one of these boats started as somebody's dirt cheap gamble, and the only thing that decided gem from mistake was whether the buyer asked the one question. Ask it, check the motor, check the tubes, pay cash, and let the tired seats and the faded carpet scare everybody else clean off. The rest is just a Saturday. There's a whole back row of cheap ones I wouldn't take if you paid me, but those, another day.